welcome to a brand new video. If you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Jesselyn and I do a bunch of college videos right now along with music, and I hope to eventually start doing some more creativity on my channel as well as gaming pretty soon because I enjoy all of those. If you want to check out my weekly vlogs, my vlog channel is listed in the description box below, and let's get started. So, as you can tell by the title, we are going to go over the grad school application process right now. As many of you know, I am a current senior in undergrad at the University of Alabama. I am majoring in music, and I actually have already gone through this process of applying to grad school for music technology. I have applied to 8 different schools across basically the eastern portion of the United States, and right now I'm waiting to hear back from 7 of the 8 schools. I have heard back from one already earlier this week, which once that vlog gets released, you can see my reaction. So definitely check out my vlog channel where that vlog will be posted eventually. So one of the first things that your grad application will need is a statement of purpose or a personal statement. Now, they're both relatively similar. However, the key difference between both of them is that the personal statement, you talk more about your background and like your reasoning behind going into the field that you're going into, and like it's more personable. You show more of your personality in that kind of statement. Whereas with a statement of purpose, you're mainly stating your purpose for going to school, which a lot of it can overlap. A lot of mine did overlap, but you gotta be more professional with a statement of purpose. Another thing with statement of purpose and personal statements is that you always have to make sure that you're sending the correct letter to the correct school. My letters were extremely similar to all of the schools, and I would change certain paragraphs to fit what they wanted. Along with, in my conclusion, I would state why I'm wanting to go to that school, what made that program interesting to me, and something that I may want to join. And I would have to change the program name and the school name in that paragraph every single time. And if there was a specific reason as to why I was applying to that school, I would state that down there. With that being said, it's perfectly okay if you still have some of the same wording in 2 different types of letters. So let's say you have a personal statement and a statement of purpose, but you have like 4 out of your 6 paragraphs that overlap. That's okay. If they're the exact same, that's okay. As long as you hit all the points that you need to, you're good. The second thing that grad school applications usually ask for is a resume of some sort. It could be a CV, it could be an actual resume. I submitted an actual resume because I don't have research experience. And usually with a CV, you have some research experience to like add to it. I don't. So I just use my regular old resume that I send in for all of my job applications. And I included my internships and my jobs that I've had that are relevant to that field. So like I've worked at Kroger before, but I'm going into music technology. I'm not going to put Kroger on my resume because it has nothing to do with what I'm going into. But I am going to put on that I've worked at a television station and that I have worked as an audio editor on a podcast, because both of those relate to music and or audio technology, or just technology in general. If all you've done is, let's say you've just interned at your school's radio station and you're trying to get into like broadcast media or something, include that radio station. Let's say you're trying to get into journalism, include that radio station. Always put your relevant experience down. I know summer of 2020 was really hard for a lot of us. Internships were canceled and a lot of us just did not know what we were going to do. I did the AT&T externship as well as my 2 other remote internships that I did, but include that externship because it shows that you were planning on doing something, but plans may have changed because of the pandemic. And that's okay. It may be in the complete opposite field than what you're wanting to go into. But right now with COVID, if you did something during summer of 2020, that's okay. They're not going to really care because it's showing that you actually showed initiative and you did try and you did still accomplish something while we were all stuck at home. Another thing with resumes is to always submit it as a PDF. If you submit it as like a Word document, the formatting could mess up in the uploading process. So always upload it as a PDF. That way it can easily pull up for them and they can scan it as quickly as possible. Now, this next thing is not always a part of grad school applications, but it was a part of mine, and it is a part of a lot of the liberal arts programs, which music is a liberal arts program. I had to include a portfolio in my application. Now, most music people who are going into music performance have to actually do an audition, but because I'm going into music technology, I had to prove that I know some stuff in music technology and that I have some experience in it. So I usually included videos and recordings that is on my portfolio website, and I highly recommend getting a portfolio website. The most user-friendly program that I've ever used has been Wix. I highly recommend Wix.com to set up your website. I pay for a yearly subscription to Wix so that I can have my own domain name. I purchased my domain name through Google, and I could always have it for free, but I want my own custom domain name, so I pay a little extra for that. Wix is amazing, and having your own website portfolio can really help, because if someone asks, oh, can I see your work? You can say, oh, just go to this website and you'll see all of my work. And that has helped me get a lot of positions, and well, you'll find out in a few weeks. In your portfolio, you may include like school projects that you did. The majority of mine were school projects. However, you gotta make sure that you also include projects that you did outside of class. I did 2 audio projects over Christmas break that I included. I found some audio online that were free and was like they encouraged you to mix it and master it. So I took that audio and I mixed it and I mastered it, and then I put it on my website portfolio along with the correct designations. I can't think of the right word, but I made sure that the people who actually recorded the music and the bands that were a part of the music were actually credited. And I made sure that all I said was that I mixed this, I mastered this, enjoy. If y'all want to actually look at my portfolio website, it's always linked in the description box down below. Check it out. This next thing is required for every single program, and that is transcripts. And in my opinion, this is the most expensive part of applying to grad school. And that is because if you're applying to like 8 different schools, like how I did, you're paying like $5 each transcript to send it to that one school. You're sending like one transcript to 8 different schools, $40. With Alabama, that was close to like $200 just to send transcripts. Just to say, hey, I made such and such grade in such and such class. Here's my GPA. It's extremely expensive. And considering how I dual enrolled in a different school, and I also was a transient student with 2 other schools, so in total I had 4 transcripts that I had to send to 8 different schools. It added up very, very quickly. So just keep that in mind. I highly recommend dual enrollment. I highly recommend transiency. But if you're looking to go into higher education, just keep that cost in mind, because it does add up very, very quickly. And with transcripts, you also have to make sure to send every single one to every single school. Like I said, I had 4 different transcripts that I had to send to 8 different schools. That's like 32 individual transcripts that I had to send. So it's a pain in the butt. And sometimes you may even have to resend them. I had to resend one of them because I sent them all out in like a bulk thing, and I think one of the universities that I sent it to, they got every single one except one of them. So I had to go back in and resend that one. Luckily, that was one of the cheapest transcripts that I had to send, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I wasn't too mad about it, but it was frustrating to know that I had already sent it, but they never received it. Now, with the 2021 to 2022 application process that's going on right now, test scores are basically optional in most programs, but usually you'll have to send in test scores as well, depending on your program. Now, my program required a GRE score. Now, if you're going to business, you have the GMAT GMAT. Going into law, it's the LSAT. If you're going into education, you have to take the praxis. There's multiple different tests that you have to take in order to get in. And even though it was optional this year, I did take the GRE to help me as best as possible. And I got a lower score than what I wanted. I wanted a 300. I made just below a 300. And you know, that's okay. It's okay right now if you get a low score. That's perfectly acceptable. Right now, we're all going through hell with COVID, and some people do better than others mentally right now. You also have people who absolutely suck at taking tests. I suck at taking tests. So like, it's okay. If your grades, if your transcripts add up to you actually being a good student, you're okay. Don't stress, it's just a test score. And if you're that worried about it, you can always include reasonings behind not being able to retake it or why your score may be so low in your statement of purpose or personal statements. Like, you can include any of that in those letters. That is how you can explain a lot of things away. Additionally, some schools do require you to go through an interview process. I applied to Syracuse University for their audio arts program, and they required an interview. Right now, all interviews are online, but usually they would be in person. And you have to make sure that you actually schedule them if it's over Zoom, or to actually do them if they're in like some pre-recorded questionnaire thing. And you have to be able to check in regularly on that status. Like, one of the schools that I applied to require an interview, but you have to schedule that with the director and through email. And sometimes they don't reply to you. So you have to like constantly bombard them with that, because that happened to me. And you have to check in, have to say, hey, when does it work for you to do these interviews? And always, make sure to wear something nice. Even if it's online, make sure you're wearing a nice top. Make sure your hair looks good. Make sure you look presentable. It doesn't matter what you wear from the waist down if you don't show your waist down, but at least on the top half of your waist, wear something nice. Give that good impression that you know what you're doing and that you are a professional. Another thing that is required by all programs is recommendations. I highly recommend asking 3 to 6 professors depending on how many schools you are applying to. I applied to 8, so I asked 6 professors. 4 responded back. 1 said that he would only be a backup in case someone else didn't respond. I did end up having to use him for, I think, 2 different schools, which I'm very thankful for, but it is necessary because I also had 2 professors not even respond to me. So it is okay if you ask like 8 professors and you only hear back from 5, because then you can still have them only do 2 each. And you always have to check in regularly with your recommenders, because you're trying to be friendly with them and you're trying to get on their good side per se, because you're asking them to fight on your behalf to say that you are a good student. And it's okay to be more personable with them and to tell them more about yourself. Just a random school. I think I used like my Georgia Tech one mainly because that's the one I wrote first. And then I sent them my portfolio website so that they could see what work I've done. So if they wanted to include that in their letters, they could. Always send in extra info in case it's needed, such as like what I did. That way they do have something to look back on, and it may be new information to them, and that's okay, because that means they can build on what they already know about you with these new skills that you have, and they can go, oh, okay, well, I can incorporate both of these into my letter. So always send in something that they may need. And sometimes your professors will ask you to write a rough draft for them of what you want them to say. And usually you have to include stuff that they have seen in the classes that you have taken with them. And templates can be found online to help with this. I had one of my favorite professors ever ask me to do this, and I had a really tough time doing that. If you need to ask questions to your professors about this, please do it. They are usually more than willing to help you with this because they understand. They've gone through these processes. They've gone through a master's program and a PhD program. They know how the application process goes, and it can be very daunting and challenging to get everything that you need, including the recommendation letters. And because they've gone through it, they know how they're written. So by asking them, they will help you. But if you also need some templates, there are some online that really help. I looked at a couple different templates. I found one that I really liked, and I was able to make a general recommendation letter based off of that, and I was able to fill in different stuff that my professor should have seen in the class that I took with her. Now, granted, I did take a class with her online, so she may not have been able to see everything that I would have liked her to see, but we did have a lot of one-on-one conversations in that class, so I hope that she was able to see a little bit better, and we've also had more one-on-one conversations since, and I'm also taking another one of her classes this semester, so like, she knows me fairly well at this point. And the final thing, and this is probably the worst part of the application process, is the waiting. So let's say you've sent in all of your applications, you've sent in everything that is required, but now you have to wait 4 to 8 weeks to receive a decision. That is the hardest 4 to 8 weeks. I promise you, I'm in the waiting process right now. I hate it. All you want to do is you just want to know whether or not you got in somewhere, and no one is telling you anything. And right now, with the 2021-2022 application process that is going on right now, it's really tough to get in anywhere because the stakes are raised. A lot of people deferred from the 2020-2021 school year because of COVID. So you're fighting all of them. You're fighting everyone who didn't get in last year, and then all of the new people like me who are trying to get in, and it can be really hard, and especially if you need funding for a school, because that funding may just not be there. So it's very daunting, and hopefully the 2022-2023 application process will be a little bit easier than what it is right now, but we will see. But overall, waiting process is probably the worst part. While you're going through everything else, it is daunting and it's stressful, but the most stressful part, in my opinion, is the waiting. So if you're going through the process right now, I feel for you. I've done it. I went through it this year too. I'm in the waiting stage right now, and it absolutely sucks, and I don't recommend it. The waiting process, I mean, grad school. I'm taking a grad level course right now, and I absolutely love it. It's my favorite class that I've ever taken in college. That's the main portions of the grad school application process. Certain other programs probably have other things that you need to add on to it. This is just my experience so far. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more like this, make sure to press the subscribe button down below. Make sure notifications are on, and like this video down below, and leave a comment if you are even looking to go to grad school, or you're in the process yourself, or if you've ever actually been to grad school yet. I'm really curious to see who all is interested or has already gone. And with that being said, I will see you all next week. Bye y'all.